Hello everyone, this is Phantom Rider here, and today I have yet another LX Reader story. So this is a follow-up of the previous LX Reader story, which was closing up, and this is closing up part 2. And I know it was a dick move to make this story a two-parter, but I just couldn't help myself. And I had a fresh idea for how to make this story at the time of writing this part, and I'm very, very proud of where this had gone. And I'll explain a little more where where the idea of this story came from after I finish reading it. So let's get started. You stirred the batter firmly and put it in some cupcake trays. Once they were in the cupcake trays, you put them in the oven. You wiped the sweat off of your forehead and went into the main room to get some coffee. Once you stepped into the main room, you noticed something a little off. There was only Elle and Light in the room. In this version, they weren't handcuffed yet. Keep that in mind. You walked over to the coffee maker and made a small cup. Elle slowly tore his eyes away from the computer screen and looked at you as you were putting sugar in your coffee. Hello, your name? How are the cupcakes coming along? You felt irked that he was more concerned about the cupcakes than you. You looked at him like he was an idiot and cleared your throat. They're almost done. I just put them in the oven. Light felt the tension between you two and spoke in a hushed tone. Miyazaki, I think I'll leave her to you, he said as he left the room in a hurry. Once you left, you took a sip of your coffee and looked at Elle, who had turned his attention to the monitor. Elle, do you seriously plan on watching the same tapes for the rest of the day? Elle looked at the clock on the wall and noticed it was already 5:30 in the afternoon. He simply grunted in response and turned back to the computer. I believe so. Elle, come on. You've got to live a little. Go outside and do something. He remained silent for a few long moments before looking up at you. What exactly is there to do? Go to a park, swing on the swings, go for a walk. There's a perfectly nice park a small walk from here. I have work to do, your name, and so do you. You scoffed in response. I came here to work as a baker, not a slave. I'm not a slave to my work, and neither are you. He grunted again in response and popped some candy into his mouth. He sighed. You weren't even sure on why you were so bent on getting him out of that chair. He felt as if it was a mission. He took this moment to take in his appearance. His hair was its usual mess, and his skin was as pale as ever. His eyes were as black as the night sky, focused on the screen before him. He sat in a strange position, and his finger was at his lip as he bit his nail. You smiled softly to yourself, as you wondered just how crazy it was that not only you knew the world's greatest detective, but you were also in love with him. You figured that if you were going to get Elle away from that monitor, you'd have to try a different tactic. You took a deep breath and stepped forward, your shoes echoing off the walls. Despite this, Elle paid no mind to it at first. But then you put your hands on his shoulders, and then you leaned forward and rested your head on his shoulder. His eyes turned their gaze to you, and you looked back at him with puppy eyes. Elle, you've been working so hard on this case, and you deserve a break. Please, just come with me to the park for a little bit. After all, you then batted your eyelashes, and you swore you saw a hint of pink on his face. You wouldn't want me to go out there all by myself, would you? He said in a playful tone. He looked at you for a few moments longer before sighing. I suppose it wouldn't be a bad thing to take a break. He pressed a button on the keyboard and he spoke. Wapati, I'm going out with Miss Last Name for a bit. Please keep an eye on Light for me. Of course. And now for a time skip. You both walked down the tree-filled path part of the park. The park you two were at had two parts of it. One with swings, slides, etc., and the other part was filled with trees. You and Elle were walking around the forest part of the park peacefully. You were walking ahead while Elle was slouched over, walking slowly behind you. You walked around the tree-filled area twice before you passed the swings. Hey, Elle, do you want to swing on the swings? Elle looked over at you as you walked over to the swing sets. You sat down and motioned to the swing next to you. At first, Elle didn't move, but he sighed and walked over. He sat down on the swing and both began swinging back and forth. Elle even sat on the swing in a normal position, likely to avoid falling. and you both swung in the swings for a little while. One thing that was nice about it was that it brought back memories for you of you as a child. When you were a kid, you didn't even know how to swing on one of these until you were in the 5th grade. Little embarrassing secret of me. You chuckled at the memory and looked at Al. While he was a decent distance away, you could see the smile on his face as clear as day. He smiled as well, knowing you had succeeded in your mission to get Elle away from that screen. One thing you had figured out rather quickly was that the swings in this park must have been around for a very long time, and that they had not been properly oiled or anything. The swings creaked loudly, and it made you somewhat nervous that you'd break the swing. But you thankfully didn't. Once everything was said and done, you and Elle had spent a lot of time at the park that day. It was practically a pattern. You'd walk in the forest part of the park, swing in the swings, and sit on a bench and talk. Finally, the sun was setting, and you guys decided to head back to headquarters. On the walk to the main room, Wadley spoke on the overhead mic. Miss your name? Miss last name? The cupcakes are out of the oven and fully decorated. You both can find them in the main room. Oh? Thank you so much, Wadley. I'm sorry for the trouble. It was nothing, Miss your last name, he said before returning to his work. You and Elle both returned to the main room and helped yourselves to some cupcakes. He then spoke as he finished up your cupcake. So, how did you like going to the park with me today, Al? He looked at you and swallowed the cake. It was very nice. I think we should perhaps do it again sometime. Sounds like a date, you said as you gave him a kiss on the cheek before turning to leave to your work. As you were about to walk out the room, you said without turning around, Hey, Al? Thanks. For everything. You then retreated to your kitchen off to make some more sweets for your favorite cinnamon roll. The end. This was a little bit more of a longer story, and I'm very, very proud of it, actually, because this one was so much fun to write, and it was super cute, and as a matter of fact, this story was based off an actual experience I had recently, where me and a family member had went off to the park in our neighborhood, and we simply walked around it, and we also sat on the swing set, and it was really fun. And I desperately have always liked going to the park, even as a kid, but obviously, as I mentioned before, I didn't even know how to swing on a swing set until I was in the 5th grade. And despite this fact, I still enjoy going to them every once in a while, but my school doesn't have recess, obviously because I'm a sophomore, so they obviously don't have swing sets and stuff like that, or parks, or recess time. So you simply just have to make do with what you have and everything, which is goofing around during lunchtime and after school, and before school. But aside from that, guys, thank you all so very much for watching, and as always, this is Phantom Rider, and I'll be seeing you all very soon. Bye-bye!